I reincarnated as a villain Omega. I want a peaceful life, so I quit the plot, but the main alpha says otherwise. Even the alpha's twin sons won't leave me alone. But I just want to laze around. Volume 3. Blooming Hearts, Sleeping Gardens. Chapter 31. Welcome Home. The warm afternoon sun painted Everleaf village in shades of gold as a familiar carriage slowly rolled down the flower-lined road. Before it even reached the entrance. They're back. They're finally home. Children ran through the streets, laughter echoing between the cottages. The village bell rang cheerfully. Inside the carriage, Seo Haon blinked in surprise. What's going on? Noah immediately pressed his face against the window. They're waiting for us. Leon gasped. The whole village. Haon looked outside, and nearly hid behind Adrian. Why is everyone here? Adrian chuckled softly. Because they're waiting for their hero. I'm not a hero. You restored an ancient garden. I planted flowers. You saved an entire forest. I watered flowers. Adrian smiled. Exactly. Haon sighed dramatically. They're making gardening sound much cooler than it really is. Luna happily perched on Haon's shoulder, proudly puffing out her fluffy chest as if she deserved the celebration. The carriage stopped. The moment Haon stepped outside. Welcome home. Cheers erupted across the village. Colorful flower petals filled the air. Mayor Ben walked forward with a grin. Welcome back, Keeper Haon. Haon scratched his cheek awkwardly. Please don't call me that. Grandmother Elise laughed warmly. You've become famous, dear. I'd rather be unknown. You say that every time. Villagers gathered around them carrying baskets overflowing with fresh bread, fruits, flowers, and homemade sweets. We missed you. The cafe wasn't the same without you. When are you reopening? My daughter still talks about your strawberry cake. Haon smiled helplessly. I only left for a little while. It felt much longer. Nearby, Victor Reinhardt stood with his arms crossed. The Silver Hawk gave Haon a respectful nod. Welcome back. Haon smiled. Thanks for looking after Everleaf. Victor shrugged. I was mostly making sure idiots stayed away. Mayor Ben laughed. He scared off every suspicious traveler before they even reached the village. Victor looked away. I was doing my job. Everyone knew. He was protecting Haon's peaceful life. Suddenly, Papa. Noah grabbed Haon's hand. Leon grabbed the other. Our announcement. Haon tilted his head. Announcement. The twins climbed onto a nearby fountain. Noah puffed out his chest proudly. Our Papa saved the forest. Leon raised both arms. He made flowers beat monsters. The square became completely silent. Haon's ears turned bright red. And no, I didn't. I just planted flowers. The twins ignored him. Our Papa is the coolest gardener ever. Cheers erupted once more. Haon covered his face. I want to disappear. Adrian quietly stood beside him. Without saying anything, he gently squeezed Haon's shoulder. A silent reassurance. You're home. Haon looked up. Their eyes met. For just a brief moment. Everything else disappeared. Then, Luna jumped between them. She glared directly at Adrian. No staring. Adrian sighed. Still, Luna puffed herself up proudly. The villagers burst into laughter. That evening, the cafe reopened. Every table was occupied. The aroma of fresh bread drifted into the street. Children laughed. Hunters relaxed after long journeys. Travelers shared stories. Haon moved between tables with his usual gentle smile. One herbal tea. Coming right up. 2 honey pies. I'll bring them. Everything felt normal, peaceful, exactly the life he had always wanted. Adrian sat at his usual table by the window, watching quietly. Just like always. Haon placed a cup of coffee in front of him. You didn't order yet. I was waiting for coffee. For you. Haon blinked. You're strange. Adrian smiled. So I've been told. From across the cafe, Noah whispered loudly. Did you hear that? Leon nodded dramatically. Very romantic. Haon immediately turned bright red. It wasn't romantic. It was coffee. The twins simply exchanged knowing smiles. Late that night, the cafe finally closed. The village became quiet once again. Haon stepped outside. The stars stretched endlessly overhead. He breathed in the cool night air. Home. Footsteps approached beside him. Adrian stood silently, looking toward the distant mountains. The first garden is blooming. Haon smiled. It really is. But Adrian's expression grew serious. This is only the beginning. Haon nodded. I know. Beyond those mountains, 11 more forgotten gardens still slept beneath the weight of time. Somewhere in the darkness, someone was already waiting for the keeper who had changed fate itself. But tonight, those worries could wait. For tonight, Everleaf was peaceful. Haon smiled as warm lights glowed from his little cafe. This was the home he would protect. Chapter 32 The Second Garden's Map. Morning sunlight filtered through the windows of Haon's garden cafe, bathing the wooden floor in warm golden light. The familiar aroma of freshly baked bread drifted through the room. It was peaceful, exactly how Seo Haon liked it. He hummed quietly as he watered the flower pots lined along the windows. Good morning. Morning. He greeted each flower as though they were old friends. Luna sat on the counter, happily nibbling on a berry while watching him work. Behind the cafe, Noah and Leon chased butterflies around the garden. Papa, look. The twins ran over carrying a tiny blue butterfly resting on Leon's finger. It likes me. No, Noah argued. It likes flowers. Haon laughed softly. I think both of you are right. The butterfly fluttered away. The twins immediately chased after it again. Adrian watched the scene while drinking his morning coffee. His expression remained calm, but there was a warmth in his golden eyes that had become impossible to hide. Victor, standing nearby with folded arms, quietly sighed. You smile too much these days. Adrian didn't deny it. I know. Victor looked toward Haon. I suppose that's his fault. The cafe opened shortly afterward. As always, travelers filled nearly every seat. News had spread far beyond Everleaf. The cafe owned by the mysterious garden keeper had become famous. One merchant whispered, I heard flowers bloom wherever he walks. Another replied, they say monsters refuse to attack him. Haon nearly dropped a tray. Those rumors keep getting stranger. Grandmother Elise giggled. That's what happens when people admire someone. I'd rather they admire my cakes. They do. Good. Around noon, a familiar breeze drifted through the cafe. The air suddenly filled with glowing green petals. Haon froze. Guardian. Everyone else continued eating as though nothing had happened. Only Haon, Adrian, Luna, and Victor could see the ancient spirit. The forest guardian emerged from countless floating leaves. His gentle smile remained unchanged. You've done well, keeper. Haon bowed politely. Welcome. The guardian looked around the cafe. I see you've returned to the place your heart calls home. I have. But your journey isn't over. Haon's smile slowly faded. I figured. The guardian raised one hand. The heart seed floating inside Haon's pendant began glowing. Golden vines spread across the cafe. Table. Leaves intertwined with ancient roots. Slowly, a map appeared. Everyone watched silently. On the glowing map, 12 flowers formed a circle. One flower shone brilliantly. 11 remained gray. The Forgotten Gardens. Haon whispered. The guardian nodded. The first garden has awakened. A second flower slowly pulsed. It rested beside a large blue lake drawn across the map. The second Forgotten Garden. Adrian studied the map. Where is it? The guardian pointed toward the eastern mountains. Beyond the silver cliffs. The lake of moon blossoms. Luna's ears twitched. The guardian's expression became serious. Long ago, the moon garden reflected both the sky and the hearts of those who visited. But after centuries, the lake froze. The water spirit protecting it fell into endless sleep. Haon quietly listened. If we restore it, the lake will bloom once again. The guardian smiled. And another heart seed will awaken. Victor folded his arms. So we leave soon. Haon looked around his cozy cafe. The flowers. The warm tables. The laughter. His peaceful life. He sighed. I just reopened. The guardian chuckled. I know. Fate has poor timing. After the guardian disappeared, silence filled the cafe. Finally, Noah slammed both hands on the table. Adventure. Leon jumped excitedly. Camping. Luna raised one paw. Haon rubbed his forehead. You three sound far too happy about this. Adrian smiled. We'll protect you. I'm not worried about monsters. What are you worried about? Quote. Sleeping outside. Everyone stared. Quote. 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 You mean? Haon nodded seriously. What if there aren't enough blankets? Victor pinched the bridge of his nose. I forgot how strange you are. I like soft pillows. That evening, the sun slowly disappeared beyond Everleaf. Haon walked alone into the restored first forgotten garden. The flowers glowed gently beneath the moonlight. The giant world tree swayed peacefully. He placed one hand against its trunk. Quote. We're leaving again. The leaves rustled softly, almost like a farewell. A single glowing petal drifted into his hand. The heart seed inside his pendant shined brighter than before. Far away, the second flower on the ancient map flickered. Waiting, calling, somewhere beyond the eastern mountains. The frozen lake of moon blossoms quietly awaited the keeper who had already changed the fate of one forgotten world. Their next journey had begun. Chapter 33. Cafe closed. Temporarily, the morning bell above the cafe door rang gently. For the first time in months, a wooden sign hung outside the entrance. Closed for a short journey. Seo Haon stood in front of it with a complicated expression. Quote. I feel guilty. Grandmother Elise patted his shoulder. You've worked every single day. Mayor Ben nodded. Go on your journey. We'll take care of Everleaf. Haon looked at the sign again. Quote. But what if everyone gets hungry? The villagers laughed. We know how to cook. Quote. Are you sure? Grandmother Elise smiled mischievously. We've been feeding this village long before you were born. Haon scratched his cheek. Quote. Right. Inside the cafe, the entire village had gathered. Every table was occupied, not by customers but by volunteers. Mayor Ben stood at the front. Today's mission. Everyone raised a hand. Protect Haon's cafe. Cheers echoed through the room. Haon covered his face. It's just a cafe. No, one villager replied. It's our home. The words made him pause. Slowly, a gentle smile appeared on his face. Grandmother Elise clapped her hands. Assignments. I'll bake the bread. I'll prepare the soup. I'll clean the tables. I'll water the flowers. One by one, everyone volunteered. Even children insisted on helping. We can wipe tables. We'll greet customers. We'll feed Luna. Luna immediately puffed up. Q. She looked deeply offended. I can feed myself. The children giggled anyway. Meanwhile, Victor Reinhardt inspected the cafe like a commander preparing a fortress. He checked every window, every door, every lock. Adrian watched quietly. Quote. You know this isn't a battlefield. Victor didn't even look at him. It might become one. You're overthinking. I'm doing my job. After a moment, Victor quietly handed Haon a small enchanted whistle. If anything happens, blow this. Haon blinked. What does it do? I'll arrive. Quote. From anywhere. Victor nodded. Quote. That's slightly terrifying. It should be. The twins, meanwhile, were far too excited. Noah carried a tiny backpack almost bigger than himself. Leon wore a flower-shaped travel hat. Papa, we're adventurers now. Haon looked at their luggage. Quote. Why are you bringing 5 stuffed animals? They're coming too. Quote. Quote. Their emotional support. Haon sighed. I can't argue with that. After lunch, the villagers began practicing. One man confidently flipped pancakes. They landed on the ceiling. Quote. Quote. Everyone looked up. Quote. We'll improve. Another volunteer tried making coffee. The result resembled black paint. Grandmother Elise tasted it. Quote. Interesting. What does it taste like? Quote. Regret. Haon nearly burst into laughter. All right, instructions. He spent the rest of the afternoon carefully labeling everything. Tea leaves, sugar, flour. Do not confuse these. He even left recipe books filled with handwritten notes. If customers ask, recommend today's soup. If someone feels tired, serve herbal tea. If children cry, give them strawberry cake. Mayor Ben smiled warmly. You really think of everyone. Haon looked around his little cafe. Quote. I just want everyone to leave happier than they arrived. As sunset approached, the entire village gathered outside. Baskets filled with supplies sat beside the carriage. Fresh bread, medicine, blankets, camping gear, even homemade cookies. Grandmother Elise secretly tucked one last basket into the wagon. Haon noticed. What's that? Emergency snacks. There's enough for an army. You never know. Before climbing aboard, Haon turned around. The cafe glowed warmly beneath the evening sky. Flowers swayed gently in the breeze. His heart felt strangely heavy. I'll be back soon. Mayor Ben smiled. We know. The cafe will be waiting. So will we. The carriage slowly rolled toward the village gate. Noah and Leon waved enthusiastically. We'll bring souvenirs. We'll bring flowers. The villagers laughed and waved back. Luna sat proudly beside Haon. Adrian held the reins. Victor rode ahead on horseback, keeping watch over the road. As Everleaf disappeared behind the hills, Haon looked back one final time. Take care until I return. At that exact moment, back in the village, the cafe door opened. A traveler stepped inside. Grandmother Elise greeted him with a bright smile. Welcome to Haon's Garden Cafe. The traveler looked around. Where's the owner? Grandmother Elise laughed softly. He went to save another garden. The traveler blinked. I thought this was just a cafe. She smiled knowingly. So did he. Far beyond the eastern mountains, the frozen lake of moon blossoms shimmered beneath the rising moon. Deep beneath its silent waters, a pair of ancient blue eyes slowly opened. Someone had finally begun the journey toward the second forgotten garden. Chapter 34 Camping with the Blackwoods. The journey east was peaceful. Rolling green hills stretched beneath a clear blue sky as the carriage traveled along an old stone road. Wildflowers danced in the gentle breeze. For once, no monsters, no mysterious ruins, no life-threatening emergencies. Seo Haon relaxed against the carriage window. This is nice. Adrian smiled faintly while holding the reins. I thought you'd enjoy a quiet trip. I do. Behind them, Noah and Leon had somehow turned the back of the carriage into their own little kingdom. Sir Bear protects this side. No, Princess Bunny is the queen. The stuffed animals were arranged in neat rows as though attending an important meeting. Luna sat proudly in the middle. Apparently, she was the judge. By afternoon, dark clouds slowly gathered overhead. A cool wind swept across the plains. Victor glanced toward the sky. We should stop before sunset. Adrian nodded. There's a clearing ahead. Within half an hour, the group arrived at a quiet meadow surrounded by towering pine trees. A small crystal-clear stream flowed nearby. Birds chirped peacefully. Haon looked around. It's beautiful. Noah jumped from the carriage. Camping. Leon immediately followed. We're explorers. The twins dashed across the meadow before Adrian called after them. Don't go too far. We won't. Probably. Victor sighed. They're definitely going too far. Setting up camp turned out to be unexpectedly entertaining. Victor assembled his tent with military precision. Every rope was perfectly straight. Every stake was measured. It looked almost too perfect. Adrian built the second tent with practiced ease. Simple. Reliable. Meanwhile, Haon stared at his pile of cloth. How does this become a house? Luna tilted her head. Haon carefully lifted one pole. The entire tent immediately collapsed onto him. Silence. Noah blinked. Papa disappeared. Leon nodded solemnly. The tent ate him. From inside the pile of fabric came Haon's muffled voice. I'm okay. Adrian walked over without a word. He gently lifted the canvas. Haon emerged with leaves tangled in his silver hair. I lost. Adrian smiled. I noticed. The twins burst into laughter. As evening approached, a warm campfire crackled beneath the stars. Haon prepared dinner using vegetables from Everleaf and fresh fish Victor had caught in the stream. Soon, the delicious aroma filled the entire campsite. Noah sniffed the air dramatically. Papa's cooking wins again. Leon nodded. Even the forest smells hungry. Victor accepted a bowl. I've eaten at noble banquets. He took one bite. Another bite. Then quietly reached for a second serving. Haon noticed. You like it. Victor looked away. It's acceptable. Adrian chuckled. That's the highest compliment he gives. Victor didn't argue. After dinner, the fire burned softly. Crickets sang in the distance. The twins lay on a blanket, staring at the endless stars. Papa. Haon looked over. Do gardens have stars? He smiled gently. I think every garden has its own sky. Leon thought carefully. So, when flowers bloom, did they become stars somewhere? Haon looked upward. The countless stars glittered above them like tiny blossoms scattered across the heavens. Maybe. I'd like to believe they do. The twins smiled happily. I like that. Later, everyone settled down for the night. Victor volunteered for the first watch. Adrian quietly checked the campsite one last time before entering his tent. Only Haon remained awake. He sat beside the dying campfire, wrapped in a blanket. The forest was calm, peaceful, just like Everleaf. Soft footsteps approached. Adrian sat beside him. You can't sleep. Haon smiled sheepishly. I've never really slept outside before. You'll get used to it. Maybe. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was comfortable. The sound of the nearby stream filled the night. Then, a shooting star crossed the sky. Haon instinctively looked up. Beautiful. Without realizing it, he leaned slightly closer to Adrian. Their shoulders brushed. Neither of them moved away. Adrian quietly watched the silver-haired Omega smiling at the night sky. For the first time in many years, he found himself wishing that this journey would last just a little longer. Hidden deep within the forest, far beyond the warm campfire, a pair of glowing blue eyes watched silently from between the trees. Ancient, lonely, patient, the sleeping guardian of the Lake of Moon Blossoms had sensed them. The keeper was finally approaching. Chapter 35 Moon Blossom Lake. Morning mist blanketed the forest as the group packed up their campsite. The gentle crackling of the dying campfire was replaced by birdsong echoing through the towering pines. Haon stretched with a sleepy yawn. I survived. Adrian looked over. You make it sound like camping is more dangerous than monsters. Haon nodded seriously. My back disagrees with sleeping on the ground. Victor let out a quiet sigh. You really are an unusual garden keeper. Noah and Leon giggled. Papa fought the tent, and the ground won. Haon pretended not to hear them. The journey continued east. The forest gradually changed. The warm green trees became taller. Their leaves shimmered with faint shades of silver and blue. The air grew noticeably cooler. Luna suddenly stopped walking. Her ears twitched uneasily. Haon gently picked her up. What's wrong? She buried her tiny face against his shoulder. Even Adrian became more alert. Something's different. Victor rested a hand on the hilt of his sword. I've felt it since dawn. The entire forest had become too quiet. No birds, no insects, no rustling animals, only silence. By noon, the trees slowly parted. Everyone stopped walking. Before them stretched a breathtaking lake unlike anything they had ever seen. The water reflected the sky so perfectly. It looked like another world beneath the surface. Ancient white trees surrounded its shores. Countless crystal blue flowers bloomed despite the cold. Moon blossoms. Even during the day, they glowed softly. Noah gasped. It's beautiful. Leon whispered. It looks like the stars fell into the water. Haon could only nod. It's incredible. Then, a cold wind swept across the lake. The beautiful reflection shattered. Ice spread across the surface with a sharp cracking sound. Within seconds, the entire lake froze. Everyone instinctively stepped back. Haon frowned. It wasn't like this a moment ago. The guardian's voice echoed softly from the heart seat around his neck. The lake remembers strangers. The water spirit fears the world. Haon looked across the frozen surface. Can it hear us? Yes. Will it come out? Only if it believes your heart. The group slowly walked toward the shore. The frozen lake sparkled beneath the afternoon sun. Haon knelt beside the icy water. He gently placed one hand on its surface. Hello. Nothing happened. I'm Seo Haon. Silence. I came because I want to help. The lake remained completely still. Victor quietly whispered, "Maybe it isn't here." Adrian shook his head. "It is." He looked toward the center of the lake. "It has been watching us." Suddenly, tiny ripples appeared beneath the thick ice. One, then another. Blue light slowly spread beneath the frozen surface. Luna immediately hid behind Haon. Q. The twins instinctively grabbed Haon's sleeves. The lake was moving, far beneath the crystal ice. A massive silhouette slowly drifted through the water. Elegant, ancient, lonely. Its long flowing hair floated around it like moonlight. Beneath the sea, Noah whispered, "It's huge." Leon held his breath. "Is that?" The silhouette stopped directly beneath Haon. For several long moments, neither side moved. Then, two brilliant sapphire eyes slowly opened. The water spirit had awakened. The frozen lake suddenly trembled. Ice crystals rose into the air like glittering snow. A soft voice echoed across the silent valley. Human. The voice sounded gentle, but carried centuries of sorrow. Why have you come? Haon smiled warmly. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't prepare magic. Instead, he slowly reached into his travel bag. Everyone stared. Victor blinked. What are you doing? Haon pulled out a neatly wrapped package. I brought lunch. Even the water spirit fell silent. Haon smiled sheepishly. I figured, if someone has been alone for hundreds of years, they're probably hungry. Noah covered his mouth to stop laughing. Leon nodded proudly. That's our papa. Adrian lowered his head with a quiet chuckle. Only you would try to solve an ancient curse with homemade sandwiches. Haon tilted his head. Food helps. The frozen lake remained silent. Then, for the very first time, a faint ripple spread across the ice. Almost, as though the lonely spirit had smiled. Chapter 36 Luna's biggest rival. Morning sunlight shimmered across the frozen surface of the Lake of Moon Blossoms. The silence that had lingered over the lake for centuries felt different. Not warm, not yet, but no longer hostile. The water spirit's sapphire eyes remained fixed on the neatly wrapped lunch Haon still held in his hands. What is that? Her voice echoed softly across the water. Haon smiled. It's a sandwich. The ancient spirit tilted her head. A sandwich. Noah nodded enthusiastically. Papa makes the best ones. Leon proudly added. They solve almost everything. Victor quietly muttered. I'm beginning to think they're right. Haon carefully placed the lunch basket on the frozen shore. You don't have to eat it now. I just thought. If you've been alone for so long. It might be nice to share a meal. The water spirit looked at him for a long time. No fear, no greed, no hidden intentions, only kindness. A tiny crack spread across the ice beneath the basket. Not from cold, but from the lake itself. Then, boing, something fluffy suddenly landed directly on Haon's head. Huh. A pair of long white ears flopped over his forehead. Noah blinked. Papa. Leon pointed upward. There's a bunny. Haon slowly looked up. Sitting comfortably on his head was a tiny snow-white rabbit with glowing blue eyes. It happily nibbled one of his silver curls. Excuse me. The rabbit blinked innocently. Peon. Luna immediately froze. Her fluffy tail puffed up twice its normal size. Kyuuuu. The tiny rabbit gracefully jumped onto Haon's shoulder. Without asking, without hesitation, it rubbed its cheek against his face. Peon tilde. Haon laughed. You're friendly. The water spirit quietly watched. That is Moon. Everyone looked at the tiny rabbit. Moon. The spirit nodded. My companion. The last Moon rabbit. Moon happily accepted a piece of bread from Haon's hand. Then, it climbed into his lap. Completely ignoring everyone else. Luna had reached her limit. She marched across the ice with exaggerated determination. Moon looked back. Peon. The two magical creatures stared at each other. Noah whispered. This feels serious. Leon nodded. Very serious. Neither moved. Neither blinked. 5 long seconds passed. Then, Moon gently nudged Haon's hand. Luna immediately squeezed into his other arm. Moon responded by curling up on his shoulder. Luna climbed onto his head. Moon moved closer to his neck. Luna wrapped her fluffy tail around his shoulders possessively. Quote. 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 Haon sighed. My furniture now. Adrian quietly watched the entire exchange. Quote. You attract unusual creatures. I don't know why. Victor folded his arms. I think they recognize your nature. My nature. You make everything feel safe. Haon blinked. Quote. I was just feeding a rabbit. Victor looked toward Moon. It trusted you within seconds. The water spirit didn't stop it. Adrian smiled. Neither did Luna. Luna proudly puffed out her chest. Q. Then immediately glared at Moon again. Moon simply blinked. Peon. The water spirit slowly approached the shore. For the first time, she emerged halfway from the frozen lake. Her flowing silver-blue hair shimmered like moonlight. Moon blossoms bloomed wherever droplets of water touched the ice. Quote. Moon has always feared strangers. She gently stroked the little rabbit's ears. It hasn't approached anyone. Quote. Since the lake froze. Haon looked down at the tiny rabbit sleeping peacefully in his lap. Quote. Really? The spirit nodded. It likes your heart. Haon smiled softly. I'm honored. That afternoon, the group explored the lakeside. Moon happily hopped beside Noah and Leon. The twins laughed while gathering glowing moon blossoms that had naturally fallen to the ground. Haon carefully reminded them, only the fallen flowers. We don't pick living ones. Okay. The twins nodded obediently. Moon copied them, picking up a single fallen blossom with its tiny mouth. Luna stared. Quote. Then she quickly found an even bigger blossom and proudly dropped it into Haon's hands. Haon laughed. Thank you, Luna. Q. Moon wasn't about to lose. It returned carrying 3 tiny blossoms. The competition had officially begun. As the sun slowly set, the frozen lake reflected a sky painted in soft shades of pink and violet. For the first time in centuries, gentle laughter echoed across the lonely shore. The water spirit quietly watched from the water's edge. A tiny smile appeared on her face. Almost too small to notice. But it was there. The frozen silence around the lake of moon blossoms had begun to crack. Not through force, not through magic, but through simple acts of kindness. Hidden deep beneath the lake, an ancient flower bud stirred for the first time in hundreds of years. The second forgotten garden was beginning to awaken. Chapter 37. My heart is acting weird. Morning arrived with a gentle snowfall. Tiny flakes drifted across the lake of moon blossoms, covering the frozen shoreline in soft white. The water spirit quietly watched as Noah and Leon built a tiny snow rabbit beside the lake. Moon hopped happily around them. Luna, naturally, built a snow fox. Or at least, she tried. Q. Her tiny paws flattened the snow into a lopsided lump. Moon looked at it. Quote. Peon. Luna huffed and turned away. Haon couldn't help laughing. I think it's adorable. Luna immediately brightened. Q. By midday, the group continued exploring the lakeside. Ancient stone pathways, hidden beneath layers of snow and moss, slowly revealed themselves among the glowing moon blossoms. The water spirit floated silently beside them. This place, used to welcome thousands. Her voice carried a quiet sadness. Families came every spring. Children laughed. Couples made promises. But no one has visited. For hundreds of years. Haon looked around. The frozen beauty felt lonely. It deserves to be alive again. The water spirit gently smiled. Quote. I hope so. As they reached the old moon pavilion, someone was already waiting. A young woman wearing white healer's robes stood beneath the ancient gazebo. She carried a basket filled with herbs and glowing flowers. The moment she noticed Adrian and Haon, her face lit up. Oh, you finally arrived. Everyone looked confused. The healer smiled warmly. I've been maintaining this shrine for years. My name is Eliana. She bowed politely. It is an honor to finally meet the famous garden keeper. Haon awkwardly scratched his cheek. That's me. Then Eliana looked between Haon and Adrian. She smiled even wider. And this must be your husband. Quote. 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 Silence. Haon's brain stopped working. What? His face instantly turned bright red. No. We're not. We're absolutely not. Adrian calmly sipped his tea. Eliana blinked. Really? She tilted her head. I apologize. You simply looked so comfortable together. She pointed toward the twins. And your children are adorable. Noah immediately nodded. Yes. Leon nodded even harder. Papa and Dad. Haon nearly dropped to his knees. You two are making this worse. The healer laughed softly. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. But, she smiled knowingly. You really do look like a family. Haon didn't know how to answer. Because, she wasn't entirely wrong. Not about the family part. Just, about everything else. That afternoon, Eliana guided them through the abandoned shrine surrounding the lake. Ancient murals covered the walls. One depicted the water spirit smiling beside countless visitors. Another showed children placing moon blossoms into the water. Haon quietly admired them. They're beautiful. Eliana nodded. They represent memories. The lake responds to people's hearts. If someone carries hatred, the water freezes. If someone carries kindness, the flowers bloom. Haon instinctively looked toward the frozen lake. Then we'll definitely make it bloom. The water spirit quietly smiled. As the group prepared to leave, a handsome young herbalist arrived carrying several baskets of medicine. He waved happily. Lady Eliana. She smiled brightly. You're late again. I got distracted gathering herbs. The two laughed together while arranging the flowers. Haon watched quietly. They seem close. Adrian nodded. They've worked together for years. Haon looked away. Oh, he wasn't sure why, but something inside his chest suddenly felt strange. A tiny uncomfortable feeling, like he had swallowed a pebble. A few minutes later, the herbalist noticed Adrian. Sir, I've heard countless stories about you. I've always admired the strongest alpha. Adrian politely nodded. Thank you. The herbalist continued talking enthusiastically. Haon quietly stepped away. For some reason, watching Adrian laugh with someone else felt odd. Very odd. Moon hopped into his lap. Peon. Haon gently stroked its soft fur. My heart feels weird. Moon tilted its head. Peon. I don't know why. Luna climbed onto his shoulder. She gently rubbed against his cheek, almost as though comforting him. That evening, the group gathered around another campfire near the lakeshore. Everyone chatted happily, except Haon. He stared into the dancing flames. Lost in thought, Adrian eventually sat beside him. You've been quiet. Haon forced a smile. I'm just tired. Adrian studied him for a moment. If something is bothering you, you can tell me. Haon quickly shook his head. It's nothing. Really? Adrian didn't press him. Instead, he simply placed a warm cup of herbal tea into Haon's hands. I asked Eliana to prepare your favorite blend. Haon blinked. You remembered. You always drink it after long journeys. A comfortable silence settled between them. Haon looked down at the steaming cup. The strange feeling in his chest had disappeared. Without realizing it, a small smile appeared on his face. Thank you. Adrian smiled back. You're welcome. From behind a nearby tree, Noah whispered excitedly. Did you see that? Leon grinned. Papa smiled again. The twins quietly high-fived. Mission successful. Nearby, the water spirit watched the two adults sitting peacefully together. She softly murmured, so, even the keeper's heart is beginning to awaken. Far beneath the frozen lake, the first cracks finally spread through the ancient ice. The second forgotten garden was responding, not only to kindness, but to the quiet blooming of a heart that had yet to understand its own feelings. Chapter 38 The Sleeping Lake Awakens. The next morning, the lake of moon blossoms remained silent. Snow no longer fell. Instead, tiny blue petals drifted gently across the frozen surface. The water spirit stood quietly at the center of the lake. Her long silver blue hair flowed softly in the cold breeze. She closed her eyes. The lake is waiting. Haon stepped forward. For what? The water spirit slowly opened her sapphire eyes. For someone, to remind it how to live. The forest guardian appeared once more, surrounded by glowing emerald leaves. Keeper. Haon bowed politely. Guardian. The ancient spirit smiled warmly. You have already warmed one lonely heart. Now, it is time to awaken the lake itself. Golden light flowed from the heart seed hanging around Haon's neck. The familiar ancient map appeared in the air. The first flower shone brilliantly. The second flower flickered faintly. It is ready. The guardian looked toward the center of the frozen lake. The moon garden was never destroyed. It merely forgot happiness. The words echoed through the silent valley. Haon looked around. So we don't need to fight anything. The guardian chuckled. Not every garden is restored through battle. You already possess what this place needs. Haon tilted his head. Flowers. The guardian laughed. Kindness. Haon slowly walked onto the frozen lake. The ice did not crack beneath his feet. Instead, moon blossoms bloomed wherever he stepped. Noah whispered excitedly. Look, Papa's making flowers. Leon smiled. The lake likes him. Luna and Moon happily followed behind. Tiny blossoms appeared beneath their little paws as well. When Haon finally reached the center, the water spirit gently held out both hands. Please. He placed his own hands in hers. The moment their fingers touched, the heart seed blazed with brilliant golden light. Warmth spread through the frozen lake. A single crack appeared, then another, and another. The thick ancient ice slowly began to melt. Not violently, not suddenly, but gently, like winter quietly making room for spring. Blue light burst from beneath the water. The entire lake shimmered. Moon blossoms opened one after another across the surface. Crystal clear water replaced centuries of frozen silence. Birds returned to the trees. Butterflies danced above the flowers. Even the wind seemed lighter. The water spirit gasped softly. It's beautiful. For the first time in hundreds of years, she could hear laughter carried by the breeze. Not memories. Real laughter. Deep beneath the lake, ancient roots awakened. Massive glowing vines rose from the water. At their center, a magnificent tree of silver bark and sapphire blossoms slowly bloomed. The second forgotten garden had awakened. Golden petals filled the sky. The forest guardian smiled proudly. Well done. The garden remembers. The ancient tree released a single glowing fruit shaped like a crystal flower. It floated gently toward Haon. The water spirit carefully picked it up. This belongs to you. She placed it into his hands. The crystal fruit dissolved into countless particles of light. They gathered inside the heart seed around his neck. A second glowing petal appeared within it. The guardian nodded. The moon seed. The proof that the second garden has accepted you. Haon smiled softly. I'll protect it. Noah and Leon ran across the lakeshore, laughing as butterflies followed them. Moon happily bounced through the blooming flowers. Luna quickly joined in, pretending she hadn't been racing Moon all morning. Victor quietly looked around the restored valley. No monsters. No battle. Just flowers. Adrian smiled. Not every victory needs a sword. Victor nodded after a long silence. Perhaps. The water spirit approached Haon one final time. She bowed deeply. My name is Celine. I had forgotten it. Thank you for helping me remember. Haon gently smiled. It's a beautiful name. Celine's eyes shimmered with tears. So is your heart. As sunset painted the valley gold, the guardian looked toward the distant horizon. Keeper. There are now 10 forgotten gardens still waiting. Haon nodded. I know. But he looked around the peaceful lake. The laughing twins. Luna and Moon chasing butterflies. Celine smiling beneath blooming moon trees. Adrian watching quietly from nearby. I'm glad we came. The guardian smiled. So am I. Far away, in a hidden castle swallowed by darkness, a hooded figure slowly opened a weathered ancient book. One page, once blank, now displayed 2 glowing flowers. The figure quietly whispered, "So, the second garden has awakened." A cold smile appeared beneath the hood. Then it is finally time to meet the keeper. The light faded, the shadows deepened, and somewhere far beyond the peaceful lake of moon blossoms, the true enemy finally made the first move. Chapter 39. Family isn't about blood. The morning after the second forgotten garden awakened, the lake of moon blossoms looked completely different. The thick ice was gone. Gentle waves sparkled beneath the rising sun. Thousands of moon blossoms bloomed across the crystal clear water, filling the air with a sweet, calming fragrance. Birds sang once again. Butterflies danced above the flowers. The valley was alive. Haon stood quietly at the lakeshore, smiling. Welcome back. Celine, the water spirit, stood beside him. No. She smiled warmly. Welcome home. The villagers who lived near the lake slowly began returning. One by one, families crossed the old stone bridge. Children laughed as they chased glowing butterflies. Elderly couples walked hand in hand along the blooming shoreline. Everyone stopped in amazement. The lake. It's alive again. I haven't seen it like this since I was a child. Celine quietly watched them. For centuries, she had believed no one would ever return. Now, the valley was once again filled with life. Near the restored shrine, Noah and Leon played with Moon while Luna watched carefully from a nearby rock. Moon happily bounced after butterflies. Luna pretended she wasn't interested. Then secretly chased one when nobody was looking. Cue. Moon tilted its head. Peon. The twins burst into laughter. They're friends now. Luna immediately looked away. She refused to admit it. Later that afternoon, the group helped the villagers repair the old shrine. Haon planted fresh flowers around the entrance. Adrian carried heavy wooden beams without breaking a sweat. Victor quietly repaired the stone steps. Even the twins eagerly helped. Although, their version of helping mostly involved handing people random flowers. Here, you need this. Noah. That's a mushroom. Oh. Leon looked at his own hand. Mine too. Haon laughed so hard he had to sit down. As the work finished, the village elder approached. Haon. She bowed respectfully. Keeper. Thank you. Haon quickly waved both hands. You don't have to bow. We only helped. The elder smiled. You gave this valley back its future. She gently placed a woven bracelet made from moon blossoms around Haon's wrist. A small gift. So you'll remember this place. Haon looked at the bracelet. I'll treasure it. That evening, the villagers prepared a farewell feast beside the lake. Long wooden tables overflowed with warm bread, roasted vegetables, fresh fish, fruit pies, and herbal tea. Children laughed around the bonfire. Music filled the air. For the first time in centuries, the festival of moon blossoms had returned. Celine quietly watched from the lakeshore. Tears shimmered in her sapphire eyes. I had forgotten how beautiful laughter sounds. As the celebration continued, Noah climbed onto Haon's lap. Leon quickly followed. The twins leaned comfortably against him. Noah looked up. Papa, can I ask something? Of course. Leon hesitated for a moment. Are we really family? The question caught everyone nearby by surprise. The laughter around the bonfire suddenly seemed very far away. Haon looked at the twins. Why would you ask that? Noah looked down. We don't have the same blood. Leon quietly nodded. And you didn't know us before. We just met you. Haon's heart tightened. Without saying a word, he gently wrapped both boys in a warm hug. The twins blinked. Haon smiled softly. When I was little, I thought family meant sharing the same name, the same blood, the same house. He looked at Adrian, then at Celine, then at Victor. Finally, back to Noah and Leon. But I was wrong. He gently brushed Noah's hair aside. Family is the people who choose to stay. The ones who laugh with you, cry with you, worry about you, protect you, and make every ordinary day feel like home. The twins' eyes slowly filled with tears. So, Haon smiled warmly. Yes, we're family. Not because of blood, but because, I chose you. Noah suddenly hugged him tightly. We chose you too. Leon joined the hug. We love you, Papa. Haon's eyes became misty. I love you both too. A short distance away, Adrian quietly watched the three of them. A peaceful smile appeared on his face. Victor noticed. You're smiling again. Adrian didn't deny it. I know. Victor sighed. You're hopeless. Probably. Celine quietly wiped away a tear. The forest guardian appeared beside her. You see now. She nodded. The garden awakened because of kindness. The guardian smiled. No, it awakened because someone finally taught it the true meaning of family. Late that night, after the festival ended, Haon stood alone beside the peaceful lake. Moon blossoms reflected across the calm water like countless tiny stars. Adrian quietly walked over. You've become important to them. Haon looked toward the sleeping twins inside their tent. They've become important to me too. He smiled softly. I never expected that reincarnating into a villain's body would lead me to finding a family. Adrian looked at him with quiet affection. I'm glad it did. Haon smiled. So am I. Far away, hidden behind the mountains, a pair of crimson eyes silently watched the glowing second garden. The hooded figure closed the ancient book. Enjoy your happiness while it lasts. The next garden will not welcome you so gently. The wind carried the chilling whisper into the darkness. But at the lake of moon blossoms, no one heard it. For tonight, the only thing that mattered was family. Chapter 40. Papa is jealous. Morning sunlight reflected across the restored lake of moon blossoms. The festival had ended. The villagers were already returning to their daily lives, their laughter once again filling the once silent valley. The time had come to continue their journey. Celine stood at the entrance of the restored shrine. Moon rested comfortably in her arms. You'll always be welcome here. Haon smiled warmly. And you'll always have friends in Everleaf. Celine nodded. Thank you. Before leaving, Moon suddenly jumped from Celine's arms. Peon. It dashed straight toward Haon. Without hesitation, it climbed onto his shoulder. Luna's ears immediately twitched. Moon rubbed its fluffy head against Haon's cheek. Peon tilde. Luna slowly narrowed her eyes. Oh no. Noah whispered. It started again. Leon nodded seriously. The rivalry. Haon gently laughed. Moon, you should stay with Celine. The little rabbit looked at him. Peon. Then, it reluctantly hopped back into Celine's arms. Luna immediately puffed out her chest. Victor sighed. I've never seen a fox celebrate winning before. After saying their goodbyes, the group resumed their journey. The mountain path stretched peacefully beneath a bright blue sky. For the first time in days, everyone felt completely relaxed. No monsters, no danger, just a pleasant walk. Around noon, the road passed through a small mountain village. The marketplace bustled with travelers. Food stalls lined the streets. Children ran through the square. A traveling musician played cheerful melodies. Haon's eyes sparkled. Food. Adrian smiled knowingly. I had a feeling you'd say that. Within minutes, Haon was carrying freshly baked pastries, honey bread, fruit tarts, sweet dumplings. The twins happily helped, mostly by eating, while browsing another stall. A cheerful flower merchant approached Adrian. My lord, I've heard of you. Without waiting for an answer, she smiled brightly. Your fiancé has excellent taste. She pointed directly at Haon. Haon froze. What? The merchant blinked. Isn't he? Haon waved both hands frantically. No, we're not engaged. The merchant laughed awkwardly. My mistake. I simply thought. You looked adorable together. Noah immediately raised his hand. They're practically married. Leon nodded. They just don't know it yet. Haon's face turned bright red. You too. The merchant laughed so hard she almost dropped her flowers. A few moments later, another customer walked over. She smiled brightly at Adrian. Sir Blackwood, I've admired you for years. She happily began chatting with him. Haon quietly looked away. That strange feeling returned. The same tiny uncomfortable pebble in his chest. He frowned. Why again? Luna climbed onto his shoulder. Haon sighed softly. Nothing. Nearby, the twins secretly watched everything. Noah quietly whispered. Papa looked away. Leon nodded. Again, the brothers exchanged identical grins. I think. Papa is jealous. A few minutes later, the twins put their ridiculous plan into action. Noah suddenly ran toward Adrian. Dad. He loudly hugged Adrian's arm. Leon immediately grabbed Haon's hand. Papa. Then, without warning, the twins switched places. Noah grabbed Haon's hand. Leon grabbed Adrian's. Then both boys pulled with all their might. Come here. Before either adult realized what was happening, Haon stumbled forward, straight into Adrian. .. Exclamation mark quote. The pastries flew into the air. Adrian instinctively caught Haon before he could fall. For one brief moment, they were so close. Haon could hear Adrian's heartbeat. Strong, steady, warm. Quote. 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 Haon's entire face turned scarlet. Sorry. He immediately stepped back. Adrian simply smiled. You didn't fall. Quote. Thanks to you. The twins exchanged triumphant high fives. Operation success. Luna covered her tiny face with one paw. Even she couldn't believe them. Victor watched from nearby. Quote. Those children are terrifying. That evening, the group camped beside a peaceful river. Everyone sat around another campfire. Noah suddenly looked at Haon. Papa, were you jealous today? Haon nearly choked on his tea. What? Leon looked completely innocent. You looked sad whenever other people talked to Dad. Quote. 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 Haon stared at the twins. I wasn't jealous. Quote. Probably. The twins blinked. Quote. Probably. Haon buried his face in his hands. Quote. I don't know. The words escaped before he could stop them. Silence settled around the campfire. Adrian quietly looked toward the flames. A small smile appeared on his lips. He said nothing, because, for the first time, Haon had admitted, even if only to himself, that his heart really was changing. Hidden deep within the heart seed, the second glowing petal shined a little brighter. Far away, the road toward the third forgotten garden quietly awaited. But tonight, the greatest mystery wasn't the next garden. It was the silver-haired Omega who still hadn't realized that he was slowly falling in love. Chapter 41 Everleaf's famous cafe. After several peaceful days of traveling, the familiar flower-lined road finally came into view. Everleaf. Noah shouted excitedly. We're home. Leon leaned out of the carriage window. The cafe. Luna happily wagged her fluffy tail. Haon smiled as the wooden sign at the village entrance came into sight. Welcome to Everleaf Village. Quote. Home. The moment the carriage rolled into the village, the familiar sound of the cafe bell echoed through the square. Grandmother Elise ran outside. You're back. Mayor Ben laughed heartily. I told everyone they'd return today. Villagers gathered from every direction. Children waved flowers. Hunters greeted Adrian. Even Victor received a respectful nod. Haon blinked in surprise. Quote. Did everyone wait for us again? Grandmother Elise smiled warmly. Of course. The cafe hasn't felt complete without its owner. Haon scratched his cheek. I only left for a few days. Mayor Ben laughed. And yet everyone missed you. As soon as Haon unlocked the cafe door, the familiar scent of herbs, flowers, and fresh wood welcomed him. Everything looked spotless. Every table had been cleaned. Every flower watered. Every chair carefully arranged. Grandmother Elise proudly smiled. We kept your home safe. Haon looked around quietly. Quote. Thank you. His voice was soft, but everyone heard the sincerity behind it. The next morning, the cafe officially reopened. The bell above the entrance barely had time to stop ringing before another customer entered. Then another. Then another. By lunchtime, there was already a long line stretching into the village square. Noah peeked through the window. Quote. Papa, I think your cafe got bigger. Haon blinked. Quote. The building didn't get bigger. The line did. A traveling merchant excitedly stepped inside. I finally found it. The famous garden cafe. Another traveler nodded eagerly. I came from 2 provinces away. I heard the garden keeper makes the best herbal tea in the kingdom. Haon nearly dropped the teapot. Quote. 2 provinces. Victor calmly sipped his coffee. Your reputation keeps spreading. I don't even advertise. No, you simply keep saving ancient magical places. Quote. Right. Soon, every seat was occupied. Fresh bread filled the air with its comforting aroma. Children happily shared strawberry cake. Hunters ordered hearty vegetable stew. Travelers relaxed after long journeys. The cafe felt more alive than ever. Adrian quietly sat at his usual table by the window. Watching. Waiting. Just like always. Haon carried over a cup of coffee. You didn't order. I know. You remembered. I always remember. Adrian smiled. I know. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Then, ahem. Victor deliberately cleared his throat. There are customers waiting. Haon immediately snapped back to reality. All right. Across the room, Noah whispered to Leon. Did you see that? Leon nodded. Dad smiled. He always smiles at Papa. The twins grinned mischievously. We're making progress. Luna looked at them. Q. Even she seemed impressed. Later that afternoon, a famous traveling food critic arrived. He carefully looked around the cafe. So, this is the legendary garden cafe. The villagers immediately grew nervous. Grandmother Elise quietly whispered, He's very strict. Haon simply smiled politely. Welcome. The critic ordered only one thing. Your signature herbal tea, and today's homemade bread. Haon nodded. I'll prepare them. The cafe became unusually quiet. Everyone secretly watched. The critic slowly sipped the tea. Then, he took one bite of the bread. Silence. Finally, he smiled. A genuine smile. I've traveled across the kingdom. I've eaten in royal palaces. I've dined with nobles. But, he looked around the cozy cafe. This meal tastes more like home than any feast I've ever had. The entire cafe erupted into cheers. Haon blinked. Really? The critic nodded. You don't simply cook food. You make people feel welcome. Haon smiled shyly. That's what I always hoped for. As evening fell, the cafe finally grew quiet again. The last customer waved goodbye. See you next time. Haon smiled. We'll be here. He closed the cafe door. The warm lantern light filled the room. Noah and Leon were already asleep at one of the tables, their heads resting on folded arms. Luna curled up beside them. Adrian quietly helped stack the chairs. Victor finished washing the last dishes. Haon looked around at everyone. His family. His friends. His home. This is nice. Adrian looked at him. It is. Haon smiled. I never imagined that the peaceful life I wanted would become something worth protecting. Outside, the first and second heart seeds glowed softly beneath the evening sky. Far beyond Everleaf, hidden among storm-covered mountains, a third flower waited, dormant, silent, calling for its keeper. The journey wasn't over, but tonight, Haon was exactly where he wanted to be. Home. Chapter 42 The Letter That Changed Everything. A peaceful week passed in Everleaf. The cafe bustled with familiar laughter. Fresh bread baked every morning. Children played among the flower gardens. Travelers came and went. For the first time since returning, life had become wonderfully ordinary again. Exactly as Seo Haon liked it. Early one morning, Haon watered the flowers outside the cafe. Good morning. He smiled at each blooming plant. Luna lazily stretched on the windowsill. Noah and Leon were helping. Or at least trying to. Papa, we watered them. Haon looked at the flower bed. Why is the watering can upside down? The twins blinked. Oops. Most of the water had soaked their shoes instead. Haon laughed. I think the flowers enjoyed watching. Inside the cafe, Adrian quietly enjoyed his usual cup of coffee. Victor sat across from him, reading several official documents. He frowned. Something's wrong. Adrian looked up. What is it? Victor slid one letter across the table. It arrived this morning. The envelope was sealed with black wax. At its center, a silver crest shaped like a thorn-covered rosé. Adrian's expression became serious. The Imperial Intelligence Bureau. Victor nodded. They don't send letters unless something is very wrong. Haon walked over carrying fresh tea. Everything okay? Victor remained silent for a moment. Then, he carefully broke the seal. Inside was a single handwritten letter. He quietly read it. His face slowly darkened. Adrian stood. What happened? Victor handed him the letter. Without a word, Adrian read it once. Then again. The warmth in his golden eyes disappeared. Haon looked between them. You're scaring me. Victor finally spoke. His voice was unusually quiet. Garden keepers are disappearing. The cafe suddenly fell silent. Noah and Leon stopped talking. Even Luna's ears stood upright. Haon frowned. What? Victor placed the letter on the table. The Empire has confirmed. Within the past 6 months, 3 ancient garden keepers have vanished. No bodies. No traces. Entire sanctuaries abandoned. Haon's hand slowly tightened around his teacup. Vanished. Adrian folded the letter carefully. It isn't random. Victor nodded. They were all keepers. The ones responsible for protecting ancient sacred places. The realization slowly settled over everyone. Haon quietly whispered. Someone is hunting them. Silence filled the cafe. Outside, the cheerful laughter of the villagers continued. Inside, everything suddenly felt much colder. The forest guardian appeared beside the window. His expression was more serious than Haon had ever seen. It has begun. Haon immediately looked toward him. You knew. The guardian slowly nodded. I hoped. We still had more time. The guardian gently placed one hand over the glowing heart seed around Haon's neck. The Forgotten Gardens are connected. When one awakens, the others shine brighter. And so did their keepers. Haon quietly understood. We're becoming easier to find. The guardian nodded. Yes. Noah looked frightened. Papa, will someone come here? Haon immediately knelt beside the twins. He smiled reassuringly. It'll be okay. We'll protect each other. The twins hugged him tightly. We'll protect you too. Victor folded his arms. I've already doubled Everleaf's security. Hunters patrol the roads. Protective barriers surround the village. No suspicious traveler enters unnoticed. Adrian looked toward the cafe window. Even so, we can't stay unprepared. That evening, the cafe closed earlier than usual. Haon quietly stood alone in the flower garden behind the cafe. The first heart seed, and the second moon seed, glowed gently beneath the moonlight. He touched them carefully. Why me? The guardian appeared beside him. Because you chose kindness, when others would have chosen power. Haon lowered his eyes. I don't want to fight anyone. I just want everyone to have somewhere they can call home. The guardian smiled sadly. That is exactly why you were chosen. Footsteps approached from behind. Adrian stood beside him. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Adrian broke the silence. If danger comes, I'll stand in front of you. Haon looked at him. You always do. Adrian smiled faintly. And I always will. For some reason, those simple words made Haon's heart beat a little faster. Thank you. Far beyond Everleaf, inside a forgotten castle hidden beneath endless storms, the hooded figure stood before an ancient wall covered with glowing flowers. 2 of them now shone brightly. The figure slowly reached out. First garden. Second garden. Then, a cold smile appeared beneath the hood. Only 10 remain. The room filled with crimson light. Behind the figure, several shadowy figures silently knelt. Lord, your orders. The hooded figure slowly closed the ancient book. Find the keeper. Before he awakens another garden. The shadows vanished into the darkness. Far away, in peaceful Everleaf, no one yet realized that the greatest threat they had ever faced had finally begun moving toward them. Chapter 43 Alpha Who Waits. Rain fell gently over Everleaf. The cafe was unusually quiet. Only a handful of customers had ventured out in the weather, leaving the room filled with the soft sound of raindrops tapping against the windows. Haon carefully poured a cup of herbal tea. Perfect. Luna slept peacefully beside the counter. The warmth of the cafe made everyone feel sleepy. Near the window, Adrian sat in his usual seat. A book rested in his hands. Every few moments, he glanced toward the kitchen. Not because he needed anything. Simply, to make sure Haon was there. Victor noticed. You've looked in that direction 17 times. Adrian calmly turned another page. Have I? Yes. I wasn't counting. I was. Noah and Leon peeked from behind the staircase. Dad's watching Papa again. Leon nodded wisely. He always does. The twins looked at each other. It's sweet. It's obvious. Luna cracked one eye open. Even she agreed. By afternoon, the rain grew heavier. The last customers finished their meals and hurried home. Grandmother Elise smiled. You should close early today. Haon looked outside. I think you're right. Soon, the cafe became quiet. Only the family remained. Rain drummed softly on the roof. The fire crackled peacefully inside the fireplace. Haon decided to organize the storeroom. He climbed a small wooden ladder to reach the highest shelf. I'll just move these flower pots. Noah looked up. Papa, be careful. I will. Haon reached a little farther. Almost. The ladder suddenly shifted. Exclamation mark quote. Everything happened at once. The flower pots tipped. The ladder slipped. Haon lost his balance. Before he could hit the floor, strong arms caught him. Got you. Haon slowly opened his eyes. Adrian was holding him securely. One arm around his back, the other beneath his knees. Haon blinked. I fell. Adrian nodded. You did. But you caught me. I did. The entire cafe became strangely silent. Grandmother Elise quietly smiled into her teacup. Victor looked away. I saw nothing. Noah covered Leon's mouth. Don't laugh. Leon whispered anyway. It's the Princess Carrie. The twins immediately burst into giggles. Haon's face turned bright red. See, can you put me down? Adrian looked at him. Are you hurt? No. Then I'll put you down. Okay. Only after making sure Haon was standing safely. Did Adrian finally let go? Haon quietly adjusted his apron. Thank you. You don't need to thank me. I do. You would have done the same. Haon thought for a moment. You're right. I probably would. Adrian smiled. I know. That evening, the rain still hadn't stopped. Thunder rolled faintly in the distance. The twins had already fallen asleep beside the fireplace. Luna rested on No's lap. The warm room glowed beneath soft lantern light. Haon quietly covered the sleeping boys with blankets. They're growing so fast. Adrian stood beside him. They are. Haon smiled. They've changed my life. They've changed mine too. The rain continued long into the night. Unable to return to Blackwood Manor because of the storm, Adrian remained at the cafe. Grandmother Elise naturally prepared the guest room. Victor had already left earlier to inspect the village patrols. Everything felt peaceful. Late that night, Haon checked on everyone before going to bed. The twins were sleeping soundly. Luna snored softly. The cafe was silent. As he passed the guest room, he noticed the light was still on. He gently knocked. Adrian, come in. Haon slowly opened the door. Adrian sat by the window, quietly watching the rain. You aren't sleeping. Not yet. Haon stepped inside. The storm bothering you? Adrian shook his head. I'm thinking. About what? Adrian looked out into the darkness beyond Everleaf. The letter. The missing garden keepers. I've fought many enemies. But this. Feels different. Haon quietly nodded. I know. For a long while, neither of them spoke. The sound of rain filled the room. Finally, Haon smiled gently. We'll figure it out. We always do. Adrian looked at him. You always believe that. I have too. If I stop believing, then everyone else might too. Adrian's expression softened. You're stronger than you think. Haon laughed quietly. I trip over ladders. You stood in front of an ancient garden. You comfort lonely spirits. You made forgotten places bloom again. You've never once asked for anything in return. Haon looked down. I only wanted a peaceful life. Adrian smiled warmly. And that's exactly why. You're worth protecting. Haon felt his heart skip a beat. He quickly looked away. You always say things like that. Because they're true. Outside, the rain slowly began to stop. Moonlight broke through the clouds. Its silver light illuminated the blooming flowers surrounding the cafe. Inside, the heartseed and moonseed glowed quietly together. The forest guardian watched from the garden. A gentle smile crossed his face. The alpha waits, not because he is uncertain. But because he knows. A flower blooms best when it is given time. Far away, The hooded figure looked toward Everleaf through a magical mirror. Protect him all you want. The mirror rippled with crimson light. Soon, waiting will no longer be enough. The darkness swallowed the image. But inside the little cafe, warmth still won against the storm. For now. Chapter 44 Story that was never written. The morning after the rain. Everleaf was wrapped in fresh sunlight. The flowers around the cafe sparkled with tiny droplets of dew. It looked like nothing bad had ever happened. Haon quietly watered each flower. Good morning. Luna stretched beneath the windowsill. The twins were still asleep upstairs. For a brief moment, everything was peaceful again. The peace didn't last long. The heart seed around Haon's neck suddenly glowed. Golden light spread through the flower garden. Leaves danced through the air. The forest guardian appeared. But this time, his smile was gone. Haon immediately noticed. Guardian, we need to talk. A few minutes later, Adrian, Victor, Noah, Leon, everyone gathered in the cafe. The guardian quietly looked at each of them. Then, his gaze settled on Haon. There is something. I have hidden from you. Haon blinked. Hidden. The guardian slowly nodded. I feared telling you too soon. The guardian raised his hand. Golden vines spread across the cafe floor. Instead of a map, a glowing book appeared. Its cover was old, worn, and strangely familiar. Haon slowly approached it. Why does it feel like? I've seen this before, the guardian answered quietly. Because you did. The book slowly opened by itself. Its pages turned one after another. Scenes appeared across the glowing paper. A lonely silver-haired Omega. A ruthless Alpha. A kingdom falling into darkness. Ancient gardens left forgotten. Haon's breathing slowed. This, the guardian nodded, is the original story. Page after page unfolded before them. The silver-haired Omega, the villain of the novel, hated, misunderstood, abandoned, eventually, killed. Haon stood frozen. He died. The guardian quietly answered. Yes. No one saved him. No one understood him. He never found a home. The pages continued turning. The forgotten gardens, never awakened. The first garden, turned into a dead forest. The second garden, remained trapped beneath endless ice. One by one, every garden disappeared. The kingdom slowly lost its ancient blessings. Famine spread. Magical beasts became violent. Entire villages vanished. No one knew why. Noah quietly grabbed Haon's hand. Papa. Haon gently squeezed it. I'm okay. Although, he wasn't sure if he truly was. The final pages slowly appeared. Adrian stood alone, older, covered in scars. The strongest alpha in the kingdom. Had won countless battles. Yet, his expression was empty. Behind him, the world burned. Haon whispered. He lost. The guardian nodded. He saved the kingdom, but not the people he wished to protect. Another page turned, completely blank. Haon frowned. Why is this page empty? The guardian smiled softly. Because the story ended. The author never wrote beyond that point. Silence filled the cafe. Haon slowly looked toward the guardian. Then, why am I here? The guardian's answer was immediate. Because someone refused to accept that ending. Haon froze. What? The guardian looked toward the blooming flowers outside. The world wished to continue. The gardens wished to bloom again. And one gentle soul was given another chance. Adrian quietly stepped beside Haon. He looked at the old book. Then, without hesitation, he gently closed it. That's enough. The guardian looked at him. You don't wish to see more. I've already seen everything that matters. Adrian looked directly at Haon. The past, the original story, the ending, they're meaningless now. Haon blinked. Why? Adrian smiled. Because you're here. For a moment, nobody spoke. The only sound was the gentle breeze outside. Haon quietly lowered his head. I changed it. The guardian nodded proudly. You did. The original villain Omega disappeared. But you created something far better. A garden keeper. A cafe owner. A father. A friend. Noah suddenly hugged Haon tightly. We like this story better. Leon quickly joined the hug. This ending is happier. Haon laughed softly. Me too. The Guardian slowly walked toward the cafe door. Before disappearing, he looked back one final time. There was never supposed to be. At chapter 44, everyone looked at him. The original story ended long ago. But now, he smiled. Every chapter you write belongs only to you. Golden leaves drifted into the wind. The Guardian disappeared. That night, Haon stood alone beneath the stars. He looked toward Everleaf, the blooming first garden, the awakened moon seed, the peaceful cafe, the people waiting inside. He smiled. This story is mine now. Behind him, Adrian quietly joined him. Without saying anything, the two simply watched the stars together. Above them, the sky stretched endlessly, not as a story already written, but as one, still waiting to be told. Chapter 45. One more garden blooms. The first rays of dawn bathed Everleaf in golden light. The village was waking up. The aroma of freshly baked bread drifted from the cafe. Birds sang among the blooming flowers. Everything felt peaceful. Haon stood in the garden behind the cafe, watering the flowers as he always did. Good morning. The flowers swayed gently in the morning breeze, almost as if they were greeting him back. The heart seed around his neck glowed softly. For the first time, two petals shone within its crystal core. The forest guardian appeared beside the blooming flower beds. You've done well, keeper. Haon smiled. We've done well. The guardian looked around Everleaf. The first forgotten garden, the second forgotten garden, both now flourished once more. The world has begun to heal. Inside the cafe, breakfast was already lively. Noah and Leon happily argued over the last strawberry bun. It's mine. I saw it first. Luna quietly stole half of it while they argued. The twins stared. Luna. The fluffy fox ran away triumphantly. Haon laughed so hard he nearly dropped the teapot. Adrian quietly watched from his usual seat. Coffee in hand, a small smile on his face. Victor noticed immediately. You're smiling again. I know. You've been doing that a lot lately. Adrian looked toward Haon. I have a reason. Victor sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. After breakfast, the entire family worked together in the cafe. Haon baked fresh bread. Adrian carried supplies. The twins greeted customers with energetic smiles. Welcome. Please come in. Luna and moon blossoms decorating the windows made the cafe feel warmer than ever. By noon, the garden cafe was filled with laughter. Travelers shared stories of the restored moon blossom lake. Merchants spoke of flowers blooming where there had once been ice. News of the second forgotten garden had spread across the kingdom. Later that afternoon, Haon slipped outside for a moment of quiet. He walked to the old hill overlooking Everleaf. The same hill where wildflowers bloomed all year long. Adrian quietly followed. Neither of them spoke at first. They simply watched the village below. Smoke rose from chimneys. Children laughed in the distance. The cafe's sign gently swayed in the breeze. Haon smiled. It's beautiful. It is. I almost forgot what peace looked like. Adrian looked at him. You created this. Haon shook his head. We all did. A comfortable silence settled between them. Finally, Haon spoke again. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why do you keep waiting for me? Adrian smiled gently. Because some things are worth waiting for. Haon's heart skipped a beat. Even if it takes years. I don't mind. Even if I never notice. I'll wait. Even if the road is difficult. I'll still be there. Haon lowered his eyes. A soft smile slowly appeared on his face. You're unfair. Adrian chuckled. So I've been told. Far below, Noah and Leon secretly watched from behind a tree. Dad did it again. Leon nodded proudly. He said another cool line. The twins high-fived. Progress. Luna, sitting beside them, covered her face with one tiny paw. As the sun slowly set, the forest guardian appeared one final time before them. Golden leaves floated through the evening air. You have restored the first forgotten garden, the second forgotten garden, and something else. Haon tilted his head. Quote. Something else. The Guardian smiled knowingly. A heart. Haon blinked. Quote. Whose? The Guardian only laughed softly. You'll understand. When the time comes. The Guardian looked toward the horizon. Far beyond the mountains. A faint emerald light flickered. The third forgotten garden has awakened. It is calling. Haon took a slow breath. Quote. Then our journey isn't over. No. But. The Guardian looked at the peaceful village. You now know what you're protecting. Haon turned toward Everleaf. Toward the cafe. Toward Noah and Leon laughing together. Toward Luna chasing butterflies. Toward Adrian, standing quietly beside him. He smiled. Quote. Let's protect it together. Adrian answered without hesitation. Always. That night, the stars shone brighter than ever above Everleaf. The two glowing petals inside the heart seed gently illuminated the flower garden. One for the first garden. One for the second. 2 gardens restored. 10 still waiting. Inside the cafe, the family shared one last peaceful dinner before another journey. Outside, the flowers danced beneath the moonlight. Far away, beyond forests, mountains, and forgotten ruins, the third forgotten garden quietly waited for its keeper. And somewhere in the shadows, the hooded figure smiled. The game has only just begun. But for tonight, none of that mattered, because inside one small cafe, a silver-haired Omega who once believed he was destined to become a villain, looked around at the family he had found, and realized, he no longer wished to change the ending. He simply wanted to protect the beautiful story they were writing together. End of Volume 3. Blooming Hearts, Sleeping Gardens. Thank you for listening to II Fiction Stories. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. See you next time.